Great. Thanks a lot, guys. Now we're going to talk about last night's super fight with Mayweather and Mosley. Before we get into what the styles were, we're going to look into the numbers, into the punch zone numbers. As you know, HBO has this program called Punch Zone, which tracks the number of punches landed in the areas and the bodies that the punches landed. Actually, in interest of full disclosure, myself and Aris Pina, we're both HBO operators. So we're going to take a look inside the numbers. If you look at the screen behind me, I've got the number of punches landed per round, and you'll see that in the first 2 rounds, Mosley had double-digit lands. First 11, then 18. The second round was a big round for Mosley, which is why he has those 18 lands. But then Mayweather adjusted, and then the numbers start to trail off. In the third round, Mosley only lands 7. The fourth round, only 3, and it's not. And he only has one other round where where Mosley landed in double digits. So Floyd made the proper adjustments. He amped out his output, as you can see. He was the aggressor for the rest of the fight, but the numbers don't tell the whole story. We're going to go into the styles, and to help us talk about the keys to the fight for Shane Mosley and Floyd Mayweather, what worked and what didn't. We're going to bring on one of our special guests, trainer Nirmal Lorick. Is going to come on set, and he's going to work with Francisco Guzman, who also has a boxing background. Guys?
Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, man. So we talked about the fight last night. Last night I saw a guy in Shane Mosley who came out there and laid his load for the first 2 rounds, was able to hurt Floyd Mayweather, but didn't capitalize on it. But there was a weird thing going on. After the second round, he looked like the fighter that got beat up, and actually he had his mouth open the whole time. After the third round, fourth round, fifth round, and on, he just seemed gassed, and it was something really strange going on there. I don't know what it was, but
I thought that Shane came out with the right game plan along the way. When he hurt Mayweather, I thought with the feints he was using, it wasn't enough. He wasn't countering off of that. Mayweather became the counter puncher throughout the fight. And as they went along, the third round, the fourth round, Mayweather stuck to his game plan and made adjustments. Like before you said, adjustments makes the fight happen. He went ahead and he started picking up the left hand, where Shane didn't make that adjustment. Shane just kept getting popped with the right hand, did not move his right hand over to block no punches, and kept his left hand low. It seemed like he was just there, maybe for the paycheck.
Right. Nirmal, can you show us what Floyd was doing with the shoulder roll and why it's so effective? Give us a demonstration.
When Floyd made the adjustment, Floyd went from being here and standing back with his leg spread a little wider. So when he rolled, he picked his hand back up and then he went back. He rolled with the punch and then came back with that quick right hand.
So
So by the time Mosley was doing this, Floyd just made the adjustment, rolled back when he came with his right, and then he got caught.
Right.
And then on back, he got hit with the right hand. Shane did not make that adjustment. Shane just went on with the game plan and just kept falling apart. And as time went back, you saw Mayweather got stronger and his tactics became more,
I also thought that Shane went from being Sugar Shane to Diabetes Shane Mosley. I mean, this guy was all over the place, moving and stuff, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? I think he was nervous. I think there was a reason why he was nervous. Remember, there was a drug test implemented in his fight, and there's a reason why Floyd has been out there trying to push drug testing in the sport of boxing, and I think it showed last night. I don't want to make no accusations, but we know that Shane Mosley has been on substance performance enhancement drugs before. So
well, we don't have to. I agree with that to a certain point, but then it's not only boxing. Every other sport has been in there. Baseball, football, and I think boxing is getting to that level where the top athletes are seeing that maybe this is what I have to use to compete with the top guys. And you also got to look into it. There's maybe a deeper side of it than even the top athletes. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that Mayweather uses it or Shane or anybody else, but they have to get a better testing system, before the fights, after the fights, and have these top athletes, the top 10, they should be at random anytime be tested. Because these guys are, you don't know if they're using it 6 months before or 2 weeks before the fight or they have certain time limit that these guys could be using it 6 weeks before the fight.
Right.
But
with the random drug testing, it takes that all away, and as you can see that it probably showed in this fight too. I really don't know what to really take on it, but
we don't touch on it and try to get the sport cleaned up before you get to that point, which boxing has always been, to that level where people is always introducing certain things and strength trainers and all other guys out of boxing who really didn't understand, and they're adding these substances to the athletes without knowing sometimes, and then, people just get out of hand.
Nirmal, one of the things that was brought up was the jumping around and the expending the energy. That's something that you see people who aren't familiar with boxing. You know, you always see them jumping around. Why? Show us why that is, and why do people do that? And what would be the proper way to approach that?
I think with Shane, that's always been part of his style. You know, with the little jiggity jig in and out. You know, and I think that helps him like motivate, like get him a little more inside and see that I could go forward. But every time he tried that last night, Floyd had an answer for it. He'd either step back 2 steps or just waited for him to counterpunch. So he never really got off his punches. And I think a lot of fighters do that, you know, like where they would be. But you saw last night a superior fighter who, at any given point, he could have done what he manhandled Shane to a certain point where I didn't think it was going to happen because I always thought Shane was, being there. But at 38, I think Shane showed his age last night and it really, didn't work in his favor.
Right. And one last point that was brought up during the fight. Feints. That seems like a lost art. What is it and how do you do it?
Well, a feint is like you really step to the guy. It's like you're going to throw a punch, but you're really not going to throw it. You're going to stop halfway and then, to see what the reaction of the other guy is going to be. And sometimes it did work for Shane at times, but then Mayweather saw what was happening. He wasn't really thrown after that, so he started countering.
Also that herky-jerky style, that bouncing up. As soon as you stop bouncing up and you're going to come forward, the timing is there. You see the guy stop. You know he's going to come forward, and you counter him, and that's what Floyd Mayweather did. Sure did.
Nirmal, Francisco, thanks a lot for your expertise.
Thanks.
Now, on the undercard of that fight, and in probably the most exciting fight of the night, unfortunately for fans, s01e01 survived a first-round knockdown to floor Hector Saldivia of Argentina twice and to win a knockout victory in the first round. Uwali, with the victory, improves to 27-3 with 19 KOs. Also, Daniel Ponce de Leon returned from inactivity to fight Cornelius Slock, winning a workmanlike unanimous 12-round decision over the veteran. He improves to 39-2 with 32 knockouts. And in the co-feature of the night, Saul Canelo Alvarez, a 19-year-old Mexican-American fighter, defeated Miguel Cotto's older brother, Jose Miguel Cotto, despite being scared, surviving a scare in the first round when Cotto rocked him. With the knockout,